Hello there, guten Tag, bienvenue, welcome to how to write an outstanding historical essay and writing the LEQ for the AP Euro exam. The ability to write a good historical essay is not only critical in order to do well in an AP history, AP European history, but it's a vital skill that will help you improve your writing for your other high school classes and for college level work. Historical essays often ask you to agree or disagree with an interpretation of history, require you to develop your own interpretation, and support it with evidence, debate historical concepts or themes. This essay, I think you're going to find, has a lot in common with the DBQ. A lot of the skills that they ask of you are very similar. There's just fewer of them because there's no documents that the DBQ has. So this is just your straight up essay. You're asked a question, you got to answer it. The LEQ on the AP part of the exam is part 2 of the exam along with the DBQ. There's 3 questions to choose from, and they're all going to be the same theme. One is going to be from period 1, one is going to be from periods 2 or 3, and one is from periods 3 to 4. So you get to choose on the same theme which era you know best. You'll plan for 5 minutes, and then you'll write for 35. That's what they're expecting, a 35-minute essay planned for 5. This accounts for 15% of your AP score, which is the smallest of any section. The first thing we're going to talk about here is your pre-writing, what to do before you begin to write. Carefully read the question. Make sure you understand what it's asking you to do. The biggest mistake students make is not answering the question asked. They read the question and take it some other direction than the direction that they wanted it to go, not the direction the College Board expected it to go. A lot of times we'll talk about figuring out the thing. What is it you need to write about? What is it they're asking you to discuss? What is that thing? Also, make sure you pay attention to the targeted historical skill. On the LEQ, they'll actually tell you what it is. Is this a causation question, a comparison question, or a continuity and change over time question? That's important because that's going to change how you answer the question. It's going to change the evidence you use. Also, when you're looking at the question, make sure you understand the chronology and the location of the question. Is it asking for 19th century England or 15th century France? That makes a big difference because anything that's outside of the parameters of the question isn't going to help you. It isn't going to get you any points here. So that's the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to figure out what the question's asking. Then take a moment and develop your contextualization. This is just like contextualization in the DBQ. It places the prompt in a broader historical context. The question's about this narrow part of this era. What else is going on around it? What is the big picture context of this question? So you're going to jot that down. And then take a few minutes to review what you already know about the question. You're going to make a list of evidence you could use to answer the question. Okay, this could be terms, this could be names, this could be, small sentences of full thoughts. What evidence could you use? A list of specifics to answer this question. As you're doing that, keep an eye to see if a pattern's developing. Is there a way you could organize that evidence into logical categories to write your essay? All right, so that's going to be that you're developing the bulk of your essay right there. And then the third step is to develop an explicit thesis. It has to specifically answer all parts of the question. It can never just be there were political, religious, and social ramifications. Oh, no kidding, there always is. Okay, it can't just be plain A-Sprite. It needs to be more complex than that. No, I can't. I gotta go. I'm in the middle of LEQs. This is really important. Oh, hi, and we're back. Gotta go. We're back. So now you're done with your pre-writing. Hey, don't worry, it's just telemarketer. You're done with your pre-writing, and so now it's time to actually start writing your essay. First thing you're going to do is your introduction. It's a chance for you to make your first impression with the reader. Start with your contextualization. So start broad. Start out here. Our intro is going to look like that upside down triangle. You're starting broad. You're bringing it in. and then you are hitting them with your thesis, okay? So talk about what else is going on around. Again, this is the previously on the Americans. This is the review of what happened. Never begin your essay with the words throughout history. It's just kind of a cliche. Just don't do it. It just, people read that and they're just like, oh God, really? It just sets the bad tone. And then get a concise statement that puts your essay topic in the historical context. So you're going from broad contextualization, now connect the contextualization to your essay, and now we're getting to the thesis. The thesis is the most important part. You cannot do well on this essay if you do not have a thesis. The thesis statement has to respond to all parts of the question without just repeating it. You have to make a clear argument that is your own analysis of the information. Make sure you use the historical reasoning skill. Use the terms of the question. If it's asking you for causation, your thesis should say the causes included. If it's asking for comparison, these similarities but these differences. Use the terms of the question. And it should be the last sentence of your intro. I think you can 99% of the time make it one sentence, and it should be the last one in your intro. We're also going to talk about it in your conclusion, where you're going to restate it. So essentially, after reading your introduction, your reader should know exactly what your argument is, how it's historically situated, and how you are going to prove it. So they should know the direction this essay is going to take. All right, now that you have your introduction, it's time to go to the body paragraphs. This is obviously the meat of your essay. So 3 supporting paragraphs are the norm, but depending on how the question is and how you're organizing it, it could have 2 paragraphs, it could have 4 paragraphs. Really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Your organization just makes it easier for the reader to find everything. But if the information is in there, hopefully they will find it. But try to make it easy for them to find it. Okay, you should have 1 paragraph for each of your supporting arguments in your thesis. So your thesis is XYZ, your paragraphs are XYZ. Start each paragraph with a clear topic sentence. If it was a cause question and one of the causes is X, the causes of such and such is X, Y, and Z, the first sentence of your first paragraph should be, one of the causes of this includes X. The first sentence of your second paragraph should be, another cause includes Y. Make it clear to the reader what you are saying and what you are doing in that paragraph. Make it easy for them. So in the body paragraph, give specific and accurate evidence. That's what the reader's looking for. The reader is looking for specific and accurate evidence. Their rubric is going to be in front of them. They have to find an argument. Once they find that argument using specific evidence, bam, they're going to give you a point. Bam, they're going to click that off. And you need multiple, a significant amount of evidence and support. So be as precise as possible. Mention events, people, publications, ideas, and describe them. Remember, your argument is only as strong as the evidence you use to support it. You can have a great thesis, but if you don't provide any support for it, you don't really have a very good essay at all. Make sure that you use the historical reasoning skill to frame your argument and use those terms of the question frequently. Comparison, contrast, a continuity. This is another example of a continuity. This is an example of a change. Use those terms. Make it clear. I know some of you think that that oversimplifies and it dumbs down what you're doing. It doesn't. It makes it easier for the reader to find it. Now, another aspect that is similar to the DBQ is, once again, complex understanding. You have to show a complex understanding to get that last point, to get the 6th point on the LEQ. This is only out of 6, not 7. And so, again, it asks for similarities, describe differences. If it asks for change, give multiple changes, multiple causes, effects. Synthesis is, another time period, comparing or contrasting it to another time period or another distant place. Using a different argument, a different theme. If the question is political, look at artistic. If the question is economic, look at political, look at social. And then, of course, we can always use the post context. The next time, where does this fit? You already said where it fits in the big picture, what came right before it in the context. Now give what comes after. What does this impact? How does this change? What happens moving forward? Okay. And you can also do that in the conclusion, and we'll get there in a moment. If you're doing the post-context, you would put that in the conclusion. And so it can't just be a phrase or reference, your complex understanding. You need to bulk it. It needs to be big. Within your paragraph, make sure that you're defining important terms, throw them out there so it's clear that you know what you're saying. Don't just randomly throw words and improperly use them. And then just a couple logistics about your body paragraphs. Your strongest argument should be the first one, should be in your first body paragraph. I know some people say, oh, put your strongest argument in the conclusion so you leave the reader with a good impression, but I got to tell you that impression is already formed after the reader's gone through the rest of your essay. Okay, I've done this, I've graded these. If you put your strongest argument in your first body paragraph, the reader's thinking, all right, he knows, this kid knows what he's talking about here. I'm going to give him, all right, look, he's got that, that's good stuff. And then the second body paragraph's a little weaker. The reader's like, well, but he had a really good first paragraph, and this one's got a couple good bits of support. Then you get to that third one that's a little thin on support, but the reader's thinking, oh, I'll give him the benefit out of this, or oh, I know she's got this, I could tell. So I really believe the first body paragraph is where you want your strongest argument. You will not lose points for minor historical errors. If you put the wrong year on something, you put 1793 instead of 1993, but you describe it accurately, it's fine, as long as it doesn't detract from your argument. The reader's not an idiot. He's going to know what you're getting at. Only include information that's relevant to your argument. If you include stuff that's outside the parameter of the question or isn't answering the question, you're essentially literally just wasting your time because it's not contributing to your argument. And then also just never use the words in your essay, I, you, we, stuff things, because once again, you just sound dumb. So now you've written your body paragraphs. Now we're on to the conclusion. Start your conclusion by restating your thesis. And I really strongly suggest you restate it. Don't just copy it word for word from your intro. You've just wrote on this topic now for 35 minutes. I bet you know what you were trying to say better now than you did at the beginning of your essay. And I bet you're going to state it better this time. And you can get credit for it. So if you stated it poorly in the intro, you might not have even gotten credit for it. But if you say it even better in the conclusion, that's good. Also, the conclusion is the time to do your complex understanding and your post-context. We are just going to structure our essays that we do that every time in this essay. That's just good essay writing, regardless of what the College Board thinks. Just some final thoughts on this. Think of this as, think of writing any historical essay as a lawyer presenting a case in court. You need to have a clear position on what you're trying to prove, that's your thesis, and you need to have specific, accurate, and convincing evidence to prove it. You're presenting your case to the reader, and it's only as strong as the evidence you bring before them. Okay, this is a basic rubric for the LEQ. It just kind of spells out exactly what they want. Okay, this is courtesy of Miss Greenswag, actually. She organized this. So you have a thesis, that's a point. Do you have a thesis that's demonstratably true, it's defensible, and it responds to all parts of the question? That's a point. Contextualization puts this in the broader historical content. That's a point, but again, it can't just be a phrase or reference. This needs to be the bulk of your conclusion. This is 3-4 sentences. You're setting up, saying, how does this fit into everything? I think that's an easy point that we lose too much. In fact, I want to make note. I want to write something down about that so I don't forget what we need to do. Okay. Now, the using evidence. Essentially, there's 1 point for sort of supporting that argument. If you provide specific examples of evidence relevant to the topic of the prompt. That's like, well, you kind of did. And then you get 2 points if you really do that, if you really support your answer. And it usually means the number of examples you use or the depth to which you go to describe them. But now I want you to think about this logistically. Using a rubric, a lot of times it's just going to come down to, you'll get 1 point if you provide 1 to 2 examples. You'll get 2 points for this rubric if you provide 3 to 4 examples for any particular idea within the essay. A lot of times it just comes down to how many good arguments do you have. And then analysis and reasoning. You get 1 point if you answer the question and defend your thesis using the historical reasoning. So this is if you compare, show causation or continuity and change over time. And then you get the 2nd point if you go beyond answering the question. That's basically what complex understanding is. It's going beyond answering the question. It's bringing more in from the outside. This is the synthesis. This is the post context. And so those are the different ways you can get that 2nd point. Sorry, I forgot to move the page down. Well, it's all right there now, so you can see it. And then this next page is the generic rubric that I'll be using to actually grade your LEQs. Although whenever we look at a specific LEQ that we're using this rubric for the full LEQs, there'll be more details written down there. More specifically what I'm looking for. So hopefully this helped you deepen your understanding of the LEQ. Feel free to come back to this video whenever you need to. And good luck writing your essays this year, kiddos. See ya.